For some reason my webcam is not working. I'm gonna do the old unplug and replug, which, as you know, is the best way to do things when they're not working. Just trying to figure out which cable is the right one. This one is the right one. Let's give it that a try again. And if worst case scenario, if you can't see me, then you can't see me. So it would be this one, properties. It should be working. Don't really know why it doesn't. All right, whatever. Let's just carry on without it. So, welcome everyone. As usual, we're going to do it's Tuesday, and so we're going to try and do a little live session of building bots. Today, I have something slightly special in that I'm relatively, I would say I'm relatively done with building this bot, which I've been building for a little while now. We've been doing, I think it's my 8th session on this, 7th or 8th, and we've basically built what I would say is a good bare bone type of bot, which allows us to ask a few questions about this event and purchase a ticket, which is all good. The goal was to create a customer service type of bot, and I think we kind of got to a good place with it. I think we're good in terms of the basic type of stuff that I would say a customer service bot should be able to do to start with. So answering a lot of questions. So at the moment we only have 6 or 7 FAQs. I've just created a random one here. That might have been from the last session. I'm going to delete that. And so yeah, we'll have six FAQs here, which obviously you would have a lot more than that. Yeah, sorry, yes, my webcam is just not working for some reason. But it's okay, you'll have to do without seeing my beautiful face. So yeah, we created loads of FAQs, we created a conversation here. What we did last week, taking things further, was we built a dashboard, which is obviously here. It doesn't really have any data here because obviously this isn't a live bot. But basically what I wanted to get to this session is, because like I said, I think we're pretty much done with building this bot, or at least the bare bones of it. I wanted to take some of the questions that I received over the few lessons. So I talked to a lot of ubisend partners, people who build bots for themselves or for their clients, and this series has been actually quite popular with these people. And so what I wanted to do was gather some of the feedback that I've received from them, to make sure that I kind of answer some questions, to go a little bit deeper on some of the stuff that could be used within the platform that I didn't necessarily go into. And so yeah, I've summarized about 6 or 7 questions here, which I think I'll go through this session, and then I'm pretty much going to wrap up this build, and then next week I think I'll start building something new. I don't really know what yet. I think I'll be customer led a little bit on this. I'll ask around to my partners or clients and see what they would like to see. If you have any thoughts, obviously just put it in the chat here, and I'll be happy to have a look. Okay, so the first question was kind of like very partner oriented, although clients use this feature as well, and it is around how do we create multiple clients, multiple bots. So I guess to take a step back here, it's important to realize that the bot that I've built here is one bot. So everything that I've built here, as far as FAQs, as far as conversations, little processes here, as far as channels, which obviously only have full page and converse set up, all of this is one bot. Within the ubisend platform, a bot is basically one quote-unquote install of this platform, which I know is a bit meta, and that we don't need to go further into that. But so if, let's say, this was our customer service bot for Blast, if Blast all of a sudden wanted to do an HR bot, they would have to create a new, what we call client, under the same account. If they wanted to do a sales bot or a bot for a very specific event or something different, every kind of bot that you want to do that's kind of standalone has to be a new client within the platform. And so to do this, it's super simple. You just go into the client's view, and you can create a new client here. So I can just create a new client here called Steve's Best Customer Service Bot, and then I'm going to send this to Steve at ubisend.com, or candidate, whatever. He's going to speak English, and let's say this one. So this is all the address, perfect. And then I'm going to put this in the United Kingdom, perfect. And so I can create this client by just clicking this, filling out this kind of short form. It takes a little bit of time to create the new client, but then now my client has been created. And so at the very bottom here, you can see that I have Steve's Best Customer Service bot. And so what I can do here from now is I can basically log in as this new bot. I can go and add, a nice image here if I wanted to, if I had one here. And as you can see, this is a brand new bot. So if I go into FAQs, for instance, there are no FAQs available. If I go into the builder, there are no conversations available. So basically, I would start from zero every time. And this is how you would build new bots within your install of the ubisend platform. Now, if you were a client and you were directly using this platform, as let's say you're Coca-Cola and you're using our platform to build a customer service bot, and all of a sudden your HR team wants a bot as well, you could very simply just go into clients and create a new client here, and you'd be done with it. If you are a partner and you build bots for your customers, kind of depends on the type of partnership you have with us, but you could also log into this platform. You could white label our platform. Something's falling. You could white label our platform, which would mean that you'd have it in your kind of colors and logos and domain and everything. And for every client that you bring, as in actual client paying customer, you could create a new client within the platform, within your platform, and give them access or not, and decide it this way. So that's kind of how you manage multiple bots within the platform. So you want to make sure that each specific client under your platform is one standalone bot that kind of works on one dimension. So customer service, or if you're a very big company, you could have, or if you're a mid-sized company, you could have an HR chatbot. But if you're a very, very big company, you might have a payroll chatbot, or an expenses report chatbot, or things like that. So yeah, hopefully that answers this question. So I wrote down these questions and now I can't read my. Oh yeah, how do I set up an email fallback? So that's a really good question. I'm going to switch back to the one I've been building. Here we go. All right, cool. So I'm back on the one that we were building during these sessions. So the one thing that I didn't build throughout this whole thing is a kind of a customer inquiry, which obviously is quite likely to happen. And so there's a few things around creating an email fallback. So the first is we already have a fallback conversation, which is here. This conversation specifically triggers when default fallback is triggered, which basically means when the bot fails to understand the question a couple of times. So we can trigger this by doing blah 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 blah. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, blah 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 blah. And the third time, I think we did 3. Yep. And so here at the moment, live chat is available, but if live chat wasn't available, it would basically fall back to this email. So that's good. We have that within the platform. But something that we haven't built is if someone had a question around how do I contact your support team, or even if you had a question that you think a fallback to live chat wouldn't necessarily be valuable, you could just set up an email fallback that would just capture the information from the user and send it across to your team. And so I just thought that's a really good idea. I didn't build that, so let's try and build this now. So customer inquiry. This conversation helps customers send a short note to the customer service team. So you could really use this for any sort of reasons. So you could use this when your bot is failing to understand. You could use this when a customer is asking for the kind of question that you don't want your chatbot to answer. So let's say around refunds or around any kind of sensitive topic that you don't want to have your bot answer. And so for this, I'm just going to do a very specific trigger, which I'm going to call customer inquiry with _ inquiry. I'm kind of going through this relatively quickly because, as you know, well, you should know, obviously, if you follow these lessons, you should know how all of this works. So let's just try this very quickly, just to make sure that everything's working properly. Okay, so I sent my little postback message, which basically triggers that specific conversation, and I'm receiving an example message, which is absolutely right. So that's working properly. And so to take this, obviously this process further, what we want to do is we want to allow the customer to basically give us their name, an email address to contact them, to contact them back, and then an option to give us a short message that will basically allow us to answer. Well, basically allow your support team to read the message and obviously answer that. I should say that we obviously, I think we went through ticketing, which is obviously a really good way of doing this as well. So you could have all of your tickets here. But for now, I'm just going to do this as a simple email fallback because that's probably the right way to do it. Cool. So let's have a look at this. All right, so this is a customer inquiry. So you have to cast your mind back to what this is going to do. This is going to help customers, or it's going to help you prevent, sorry, I'm struggling with my words. It's going to help you allow customers to submit an inquiry that will go directly to your customer service team. So the first thing I want to probably do is I'm going to rename this happy to help. I'm going to save this. Cool. So I think the first thing I want to do is obviously say something like I can take a message for you and forward it to my team. And then I'm going to add another message first. What seems to be the problem? Okay, so we can save that. And so what we want here is we want the user or the customer to send us however long they want, a longish message that, whatever their issue is. And so we're going to add another step, which is going to be name. And we're going to do this transition from happy to help to this new step as just a message is sent. So what we really want to make sure of is that the bot can just pick whatever kind of message, whether it is full of numbers, full of email addresses, whether it's telephone number, whatever it is that the user sends, 3 paragraphs, 1 word, doesn't matter. As long as the user sends us a message, we want to move them forward in a conversation. And so this new step is name. So what we want to do is obviously we want to capture the message from the user, but we also want to capture their name and some kind of details around being able to obviously answer their question. And so I'm going to say thank you, noted, and then I'm going to add another message. So my team can reach out to you. I will also need a few personal details. What is your name? Perfect. So now we're asking for their name. And now for the next step, we're going to do email. So we're going to ask for their email address. I think for this, the transition from name to email also needs to be just a message, because a name could be anything. Could be Alex, could be, Caitlin, could be any type of spelling of the name Caitlin. Like, we don't really want to do any type of validation. If Elon Musk's I think it's a son or a daughter, I don't really know, but either way, that the kid has a really weird name with numbers and things like that. You never really know. So you don't want to do any validation here. You just want to say when a message is sent, whatever that is, we're just going to capture it. And so in here we're asking for the email address. I don't know if I have a name. Yeah, perfect. Finally, what is your email address? Perfect. So there's a few things that happened here. So I've obviously asked them for their name, and then I'm saying thank you first name. And so I've used what we call a variable, which we've obviously used before because I must have created this before. And this variable is going to just allow me to basically store a little bit of data into it. For this one, it would be obviously the person's first name. And I can reuse that in the conversation here. And so when I use curly brackets first name, This is going to obviously, in the conversation, once we know the name of the person, is going to switch to the name of the person as opposed to just obviously saying the first name. And this just kind of allows for personalization. It allows for integrations to be a lot better, because you can actually send data from the platform to your external, let's say CRM, and instead of just saying, you know, random lead, it would be lead with the name X or their email address, etc. So this is how we use variables within the platform. And so obviously we're going to do some more things about this in a minute. So now we're asking for an email address, and so what we're going to do a final step. Always important to do a final step here, which I'm going to call, I quite like to call thank you. And this final step is going to be quite a few things in all together. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to kind of close the loop on this one conversation. When a user is inside a conversation, it goes, the user will go all the way to the end of that conversation. And only at the end of the conversation will the user step away from the conversation and engage back into a kind of a FAQ type interaction with the bot. So until the person is inside this conversation, there's no FAQ going on, there's no small talk. The bot is going to procedurally go through that conversation and take the user through. And so because of this, we want to have a final step that kind of says to the user, thank you, and not in so many words, but kind of says, you're now out of this conversation type thing. The second thing that we're going to use this for is we're also going to obviously do a bit of validation here. We want an email address from the user, and so what we're going to do is we're going to validate to make sure that the user is sending us an email address. And then obviously we're going to say thank you, and then this is where we're also going to send the email notification from. So I'm going to say thanks, first name again, my team is on the case, they'll send an answer to, let's say, email address here within 24 hours. Okay. Okay, so now we have a conversation here and it's pretty good. So let's go and have a check to make sure everything is working properly, and then we can make sure that we actually set up the variables and all those things. Alright, so this is the little onboarding message. Obviously, I can take a message from you and forward it to my team. What seems to be the problem? I can't find my ticket. I lost it. Please help. Okay, so I've just sent a message which is it doesn't follow any validation, so I could have sent anything here, and the bot is moving forward. Thank you, noted. So my team can reach out to you. I will also need a few personal details. What is your name? So I'm going to say Alex. And now, as you can see, it didn't store that variable, so it just says first name here because I haven't done that part of the build yet. And then, what is your email address? I'm going to say let's ticket. So this is not understanding, and the reason for that is the bot is expecting an email address and it's just not getting what it wants. And so what we're going to do is we're going to reset it, try this again with an actual email address to see that we can actually move forward in the conversation. Okay, so I'm just going to say blah blah blah. My name is Alex. My email address is alex@ubisend.com. So this time I'm actually entering an email address, and as you can see, it moved me forward in the conversation to this last step, which again contains these variables not filled out because I didn't do that part of the build yet. So, okay, we know that the structurally this all works. Now, obviously, we need to do a few things. So we need to, first of all, store these variables so it doesn't look like this. So that's a bit, obviously very ugly. Then we need to do a bit of validation here. I think we can kind of give the user more of an indication of what to do at this step of the conversation. So there's a few things we could do here, and I can touch on validation and also composers. So you can have a look at that. And then at the very last step, we obviously need to send an email. So I realize it's already 20 past, but hopefully this is kind of obviously a good build for you to have a look at. Cool. So what seems to be the problem? So obviously the user is sending a message here, and we want to capture that. We want to make sure that we save whatever the user is saying. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable for this called, oh, there is one, message, perfect. So we can go back and we're going to save whatever the user says in this step. So in the very first step, we're going to save in transition, we're going to save this into a message variable. So if I close this now, as you can see, in transition now, whatever the user answers to this question, so earlier I said I lost my ticket, please help, is going to be stored in this variable. So it's very important. Same thing here. So we're asking for a name. So in variable, in transition, sorry, we're going to put first name. Save that. Cool. And so now the first name is stored. And so when we reuse first name in the conversation, hopefully it should basically bring back that first name. And finally, in this one, we're asking for an email address. And so we're going to ask for an email address here as well. Oh, sorry, we're going to save the variable into email. Saving that. Okay, let's go through this demo again, just to make sure that everything is working properly. So let's trigger the conversation. I need help, please. So this is being saved. Obviously, we don't bring this back to the user, so you can't really see that it's being saved, but you'll have to trust me. And now I'm giving my name. So what is your name, Alex? And now instead of this little ugly curly brackets, it's resurfacing my name. And then what's my email address? Alex@ubisend.com. Great. Thanks, Alex. My team is on the case. They'll send an answer to alex@ubisend.com within 24 hours. So as you can see, it's using these values to actually move, to actually capture the values and make them a lot more helpful to the user and to myself as a chatbot builder. So what else do I need to do? I think I'm going to do a bit of validation, just because it's quite important in this step particularly that we capture an email address. So the user should only move forward if the bot receives an email address as a message, nothing else. So if someone says my email address is email address, it's not going to work. It needs to be an email address. And so to help with that, I think there's a few things that we can do. We can go into validation here, and we can say if the message is not an email address, we're going to say please enter a valid email address. So we can do that first. Saving this. And now if we go and test it, customer inquiry. Sorry, getting distracted. What seems to be the problem? I'm just going to send some random things. What is your name? Alex. And then here it's asking for my email address. And so if I send just gobbledygook, it should say, yeah, please enter a valid email address. So the point of doing this is that it obviously redirects the user back to what they actually need to do. So it's a good realignment. It's a good way of telling the user you kind of made a mistake here, but we'll help you out. We'll repeat what it is that you need to send us. The second thing it does is earlier when I sent gobbledygook to this part of the conversation, the bot just didn't know what to do with it and basically threw me out of the conversation altogether. And so like I said earlier, once you're part of a conversation, you go to the end, and if the bot doesn't recognize what it's supposed to be recognizing, it's gonna throw the user out of this conversation. And so you've essentially completely lost this user at that point. And so this validation feature allows you to actually keep the user in the loop, keep the user in the conversation until we actually reach a logical, helpful end. And so now I can actually say, okay, sorry, it was alex@ubisend.com. Okay, and so I've moved forward now, so that's perfect. The other thing I can do is, as you can see here, let's reset this quickly and do this. Oops. The other thing I can do here is make use of composers. So composers is kind of unique to ubisend in that sense. The composer is the little slightly grayed out message that you can see here, which says send a message. It's kind of it's obviously a placeholder, so as I start typing it goes away. But it's kind of an indicator in the background of what the user needs to do. And so in this instance, it's obviously just send a message. But most chatbot platforms, or most chat platforms as well, even if you use your Facebook Messenger or something like that as a user, they always say send a message or type here or something like this. And that's good, but it's not super helpful. It could be a lot more helpful. And so what we could do is we could actually create a composer, a custom composer, at the step of the email address. Again, just to say, at this step, at the moment the composer is just a message, which is essentially just saying, type a message or whatever, send a message. But as you can see, there's loads of them that we could use that are slightly different. And what we can do as well is we can create a completely brand new one. And so here I'm creating a new custom composer. And so this one would be enter, email address. So that would be the name of the composer. And then here we can type the message. So enter an email address. No, enter your email address. And we can save this. Perfect. And so now we have this new custom composer that we can use. And so if we go back to our builder here, and we go back to this particular step, the email step. Here we go. Message content. Instead of the message, I can scroll all the way back, all the way to the bottom, and I have my custom composer here. And so I can do. Sorry, I'm going to use it on this step rather than the previous one. And I can save this. Okay, and now if I go back to my bot, let's see. So it's always send a message, as you can see, send a message every time. The problem is this. Alex, still send a message, and now also enter your email address. And as you can see, it's obviously just a small thing, but it's very helpful to just have this kind of tooltip in the background. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I do need to send my email address. And so, okay, I'm just sending that. Okay, perfect. So this is pretty much how I would build a simple kind of human fallback, email fallback inquiry. Now, obviously, the last step of the puzzle is we want to actually send a notification to the team. And to do this, we have a few options. The complex option would be to create I don't know, I have dental software here. The complex option would be to create an integration, which would basically send, let's say, a message to your ticketing system, external ticketing system, or internal tool database somewhere. That's completely fine. It's not complex as in ubisend is difficult to use, but it is complex as in it's a more involved type of build. But what you could do as well is you could create simply an email. And here I already have one which is called support blast ubisend, etc. So I can go in here and I can just say someone needs help. Here are the details they have on their request. This is then first name, this is their email, their message. I'm going to also say this is their email. Cool, reorganize that a bit. Perfect. And so this email is going to be sent by chatbot@ubisend.com, which is not right, so it should be ubisend.io. So this email address needs to kind of match this side of the URL here. And then it comes from the Blast chatbot, it goes to support@Blast, and it just says someone needs help. It's CCing and BCCing people. Okay, cool. So I can save this. And now back into my conversation. What I can do is I can go into the customer inquiry. And at the very last step, so we've captured the message, we've captured the first name, we captured the email address. Now what we want to do is we want to send that message, send that email to someone. And so I can just go, someone needs help, save that. Thank you. Perfect. And now if I go back into my demo, agree, customer inquiry. So let's go through this one last time. Seems to be the problem. This is my problem. I can't type. Steve, just for fun. Thank you, Steve. Enter email address, steve@ubisend.com. And as you can see, it's taking a little bit more time, just a tad more time, half a second more, because it's actually preparing that email and sending it across. And now that's done. Someone on my team has received that email, and the email fallback is done. Now, obviously, I'm going to quickly move on after that, but what you want to do is you want to probably have some FAQs that relate to that specific conversation. So let's say here, as part of my FAQs, I have one which is refund rules. And so the answers here are more on refund policies or something like that. What I could do instead is I can just, let's say, remove that, add a postback. So postback is what will allow me to actually trigger a conversation, the conversation we just created. And so I can say, submit an inquiry. and then here I could have this little customer underscore inquiry. I could save that. So if I go back to the questions here, just to figure out which questions we can ask, these ones, I'm just going to do an exact match for now because we don't have time to wait around or to play around. Cool, so I'm just going to send this message. Okay, and so now my question as a user has been answered. So refund policies are very simple, blah, blah, blah. But here, what I want to do as the chatbot builder here is I want to provide a way for my user to actually reach out to my team if they wanted to. And here with that button, I can actually do that. So if I click submit an inquiry, it's going to throw me into this conversation that we just created. So what seems to be the problem? Blah, 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 blah. And we've just gone through that, so I'm not going to go through all of it. But as you can see, this is kind of the way to connect your FAQs from on one hand, which will help your users, but also provide a way to kind of move forward in the actual process, and then connect that with the processes that you build in the background. So this means that if you had, let's say, a very specific team that handles refunds, and a very specific team that handles injuries at the event that might have happened, etc., etc., you could create as many conversations here. A customer inquiry conversation, a injury inquiry conversation, etc. You can create as many as you'd like, and then tag them or tie them to the appropriate FAQs within your FAQ builder. So hopefully that's clear. Let me know if you had any more questions. So I'll go through some of the other questions. There was a question around roles and permissions, which is obviously a very important part of the platform. We're actually bringing quite a lot of new things this week, actually on Wednesday, into this part of the platform. So at the moment, what we currently have are 3 roles, I think, if I remember correctly. Yep. So we have super admin, admin, and platform user. And so a super admin is basically someone like the account that I'm currently using is a super admin, so I can access all of the features, which would make sense because I'm obviously building this bot. An admin is almost to that level, so you can access all of the features except some of the more advanced stuff like NLP settings, which we'll touch on as well because people had questions about that. That sort of stuff, and also no access to the client's view. So a super admin would be, the head of your department or something like that, or the partner. If you were a partner and you were the person setting everyone up, you'd have to be a super admin. And then finally, platform users is basically anyone using the platform. So as you can see, you can create, view, and edit and delete most of the items in the platform. Importantly, we're bringing a new roles and permissions feature, which basically will allow you to do a lot more than these. So you'll have access to actually tweaking the specific access to specific people. So for instance, you could create a live chat agent role, which would only give access to the live chat features. Or you could create a role that would be just around metrics, and you would only have access to dashboards, etc. And so that kind of allows you to segment your users across the platform, so that people don't go around and mess around with the build that you've made. You want to make sure that obviously you give access to people, the right access to the right people on your team. So yeah, kind of keep an eye out for that on Wednesday if you're part of our email list, or if you're an existing partner or an existing client, because we'll update you on that. And next week, maybe if I start the new build, we can have a look at that as well. Cool. Another question was around small talk, and I completely realized that I didn't touch on this at all, which is kind of bad for me. So I'll show you what this looks like. So small talk is basically anything that the bot could say, anything that you could tell to the bot that would be kind of non-relevant to an FAQ or anything like that. So if I go into the bot and I would say, I said hi, bot will say, how can I help? All good, my end, just at work. Cool. So as you can see, this is kind of the stuff that's no longer impressive. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, people loved that. You could actually talk to a bot and the bot would respond. But this is kind of old news now. Small talk is all of the things that are around the actual purpose of your bot. And as a chatbot company ourselves, people could come to our bots and just say a lot of these kind of sentences just because they want to test it. What we've noticed is that in the real world, people, let's say to an HR chatbot or a customer service chatbot, they won't actually use these words, they won't say these things because it's kind of irrelevant. They just want to get in and get out, just come in, ask their questions, get their answer, and leave. They don't really want to say, hi, how are you? Is it sunny in your part of the world, blah, blah, blah. Nonetheless, important to have a look at it, because if you wanted to, you could actually inject quite a lot of personality to your bot within that small talk. So as you can see, I said hi, and all the bot said was something like, hello, how can I help? And as you can see here, I have a few answers that I could use. Hello there, hi, hello, how can I help? And so if I actually talk to the bot and I say hi a few times, we'll see that hello, how can I help? Hello there. Hi. So as you can see, the bot will basically pick at random out of these 3 options, or however many options I want to add. It will pick at random and just answer with that. So now this means that here, if I wanted to, I could change this and just say, well, hello there is quite. I mean, it's not necessarily funny, but it's quite informal. And if I were, the refund department of Coca-Cola, maybe hello there is not really what I want to have. So maybe what I want to have is, hi, what can I do for you? And so I could change this particular message and absolutely like inject some personality, some specificities to this bot that wouldn't necessarily reflect on any other bot. So here, if I say hi again, I'm gonna say hi, how can I help? Hi, how can I help? Come on. Oh god, that randomizer is just not getting to my answer. I'm going to try another couple of times and then I'm just going to give up, because we're not here to send hi to a bot. Okay, well, you get my point anyway. The bot will basically pick these, and so what I can do is I can go and edit this particular one to whatever it is that I want. Now, the other thing I could do is add loads more, which is quite cool. So I could do that if I wanted to. The other thing that I can do is obviously here we're literally just looking at hello, but I think there are 7 pages of these, so there's a lot here. So you could do, where do you work? It's kind of a weird question. People will ask that. But you could actually inject quite a lot of personality here. So I work on the internet, everywhere and anywhere. Obviously those are pre-built here. They're kind of funny, but maybe you want to change those and make them more relevant to your kind of industry. The other thing that you can do is completely turn this off. Like I said at the start of this kind of specific question, small talk is no longer really impressive for people. People don't really care about the bot that says hi back to them. And it actually has quite of a negative impact having a really strong small talk oriented chatbot, because if you want to have loads of questions, FAQs that you want to be able to answer, then small talk kind of interferes a little bit and just is always potentially in the way from your bot actually answering questions. And the third reason that people might want to turn it off is because it distracts the user from the actual purpose of the bot. So a good example of this is a lead generation chatbot. Do you want your users to be able to say, hi, what's the weather like? How are you? Where do you live? Or do you want your users to be able to just submit an inquiry, submit their information, and move on? As a company, you probably want the second. As a marketing department, maybe you want the first. You want a bit of an interesting personality there. But the primary example of small talk, which is this kind of fun approach of creating a brand around the bot, is kind of losing steam a little bit from what we can see. And so you can absolutely turn that off. I don't have the option activated here on this account, so I can't show it to you, but you can actually turn this on or off at will, depending on the bot. So again, you could use a bot internally that is HR oriented and with small talk turned off, because your employees are not going to care. And then you could have a sales oriented chatbot that is customer focused and with small talk on, because you want your customers to be able to have fun with your bot. So that's small talk. A very short question that I had was around the NLP settings. So as I said earlier, I'm a super admin on this account, which gives me some rights that if you are just an admin or just a user, and you're attending this and you're watching this, you might not recognize some of this stuff, and that's presumably where this question came from. But part of these NLP drop down here, I have obviously FAQ small talk training, and then I have NLP settings, and a lot of people ask me to click into this to see what this is like. And so this is what it looks like. So ubisend has proprietary NLP engines that we use. So those are engines that we've built ourselves. This is our own software, our own technology, and by default, every single ubisend account has ubNLP activated. So it's very simple. It's out of the box, inside the bot, and so everything that you send to the bot, every FAQs that you build around, whatever the topic it is that you're building around, excuse me, all of that will use our ubNLP, our tried and tested NLP service. But there are some customers and some partners who actually want to use external NLP services like Dialogflow with AI or Amazon Lex, etc., etc. The reasons for that are quite simple. They might have already built some bots in Dialogflow or in Lewis or in Lex previously that they want to bring into the platform, or at least bring that knowledge into the platform so they don't have to start from scratch. So that's a very good use case for switching NLP provider or NLP driver. The second reason is some companies, particularly larger companies, are quite frequently forced to use to use a specific tech stack, and so if you are forced to use IBM, let's say as a tech stack, you'll be forced to use Lewis. If you're forced to use Amazon or Google, etc. So you kind of have to IBM Watson, not Lewis. And so if you're forced by your company, by your IT department or your security department to use a specific provider or a specific tech stack, you can actually switch back and forth. And if you actually go onto ubisend and you go into platform, for some reason, here we go, platform features, there is a bit about this here. So NLP providers, so you can see that we kind of list all of the NLP providers we have. And if I click on this specific thing, it kind of shows you exactly the page that I was just on. And what's interesting here is that basically the advantage of doing this is we can actually swap NLPs quite easily, which to my knowledge no other platform does. So if you do have very specific requirements in terms of tech stack, compliance, security, or if you already built a bot somewhere else and you'd like to bring it across, then that's absolutely possible within the ubisend platform. So yeah. And obviously this is a very advanced kind of page, which is why if you already have an account on ubisend and you don't see it, that's probably why. Okay, I had two more questions which I think we can go through. I'm going to close this. Yeah, I think I touched on all of this. Yeah. So I have two questions. The first is super simple. So two are around channels. So I'm going to go into channel settings here. This is where I can turn on and off the different channels and deploy my chatbot across. Just getting some water. Deploy my chatbot across different channels. And as you can see, I have Converse has a little green tick, full page has a little green tick, but all the other ones have red crosses, which means that I haven't activated them. And the first question I had was around how to actually, implement the bot, this widget. And it's super simple. So I'll just show this. Probably my fault if I haven't shown this before. If you have seen this already, then obviously don't worry too much. But if I go into channel settings here, I can pick the channel I want, and it's already activated. So it usually comes activated because that's kind of the default one. But you can completely deactivate it if you'd like. And so if I click on options, yeah, I just missed my clicks. If I click on options, here it says deploying your chatbot. Paste the codes below into your web page and see your chatbot appear. And so what I would do is I would just literally just take this and then go into let's say the page here. And so I'm not going to do it for real, but I could go and put this script inside the body of the page. And so let's see if I can actually find our existing one. Here we go. So this is our existing one. As you can see, there is obviously a bot here on the page, and this is the widget for it. And so as you can see, it's literally just on the page. The little script tag just helps us instantly inject it into the page, and it's completely done. So it's incredibly simple. You just go into this, you copy this, you either talk to your website manager, or you can do it yourself if you have access to it. You just go into your template or your page where you want to actually have it displayed, and you just copy that, copy paste it into the page, ideally in the body of the page. If you don't know what that means, just ask your web developer, and it should appear. Obviously, if you want this bot to appear on every single page, like it does on the ubisend platform, sorry, on the ubisend website, you would put it into a template that is kind of all encompassing. But yeah, again, your web developer will more than easily help you with doing that. So that's simple. And then the next question I had, it was around Telegram. Telegram is a brand new channel, which is why probably this question came through. It's not a brand new channel, but we just changed kind of the way to actually implement it. I think Telegram is either the 7th or the 8th biggest messaging app in the world at the moment. Some 200 million users, so it's very popular. Which is why obviously we used to have it in this list down here, which would require a bit of our help to set up. But we received a lot of requests to actually make this easier to set up, and so we've changed that. And so there were questions around how to actually set this up. The first thing I'll say is I actually created a video around this, so it'll be out very soon. But just to explain a little bit how this would look. So you basically go same thing as before. You go into options here, and it says to link your Telegram account. Now I don't have Telegram here on desktop because I'm on a what's it called? God, I really struggled there. Okay, so if you have Telegram on your phone or on your laptop, you can actually go and talk to the bot father. So the bot father, I won't be able to talk to it, I don't think so. Can I? I don't have an account here, so I doubt that. Yeah, so I won't be able to talk to it, but you can see, you'll recognize this name. It has the little tick, which is obviously means it's verified. And the bot father is actually a bot on the Telegram app that allows you to create your own bot. And so by going to this specific bot, you can just say, I think it's /new bot or something like that. And you have all of the instructions there, super simple, and it's going to ask you to give your chatbot a name, give your chatbot a username, and then it's just going to give you basically a string of keys like this, which they call your authorization token, and you just copy paste this into here, hit save, and you basically connect it straight away. And that's absolutely it. So if you've used Telegram before, you'll absolutely know exactly how this all works. It's super simple. There's really not much else to do. You just once you've done that, once you've connected it, you can just activate your channel here, and your channel is connected. So yeah, super easy to do, and honestly, it's the same for pretty much every single channel. So if I go into Messenger here, as you can see, I can connect to Facebook, which will actually just throw me into my personal Facebook page. If I went into Facebook Workplace, it would be the same, but actually just connect me to Facebook Workplace, which is super simple as well. Teams works quite in a similar way as Telegram, so you just get your share link here and you paste it in here and you're done. Yeah, and the rest we've done. Telegram embedded, full page. Full page obviously is super simple as well. If you go in here, you can just copy paste all of this into a page, and this would appear exactly as it looks here. So if I just go to this specific page here, this is the entire full page bot that I created. But if you just copy all of this into an HTML file and put it on your website, you can actually create this as a brand page. And that's it. So those were kind of the questions that I had on this, and I think this is gonna kind of wrap up the build for me. We've gone through a lot, and I think we've gone through a lot of the key features of the platform. And I think we've built a pretty sophisticated, albeit obviously very kind of the starting point. I didn't create a whole bunch of FAQs, I didn't create a whole bunch of conversations, but we did go through the main things here. And so yeah, I think this is good. I think next week is going to kind of be a surprise for me as much as for you. I'm going to go back to my team and kind of think of what it is that we would want to do next week, and yeah, we'll pick it back up from there. Thank you all for attending. I'll organize this this series into a nice playlist on YouTube, so that if you want to go back, you can do so. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful, and see you next week. All right, bye.